In a few months, I turn 36. I'm getting old. My next milestone birthday is 40. And that's terrifying. I don't feel 30 anymore, but I don't feel 40 either. I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to think of things in different ways, in different lights. I have a daughter now. I have to be more mature most of the time. Still, when it comes to cars, I like what I like. I can't take my daughter in my truck because it's a dangerous, unsafe vehicle and she can't ride in that for a few years. I still like muscle cars. I like fast, old European cars. I like all cars that do dumb things. I shouldn't like this car. This is the 2016 Volvo XC90, and it's everything that I shouldn't love. The problem is, I love every single thing about this damn thing. I'm getting old, but I'm gonna show you why. This is a fantastic vehicle. I get a slew of cars that come through my driveway and my garage. It's a perk of the job. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting new cars, be it a Lamborghini, a McLaren, the latest Kia, anything. I like them all. I like to find out more about all the cars that are out there on the market. Not every car that comes through my driveway and my garage do I fall in love with, though. Most of them are good. It's hard to find a bad car these days. But for me to actually say, man, if I had the money for that car, I would buy that car. This is one of those cars. This is the 2016 Volvo XC90. And yes, I'm telling you right now that I love a 7-passenger, 3-row Swedish SUV. What can I say? This car is brilliant. Under the hood is an inline 4-cylinder engine. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that's quite a small motor for such a large vehicle. And you'd normally be right. But of course you know about the wonders of forced induction. There's supercharging and there's turbocharging. This one has both of them. It's twin charged. There's a supercharger and a turbocharger. With their powers combined, this Captain Planet of an engine makes 316 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and it routes that energy through this 8-speed gearbox here out to all 4 wheels. It's a good combination. When you're leaving the line, the supercharger is the one that does most of the heavy breathing. The turbocharger has to spool up, as turbos are wont to do. The supercharger handles torque, delivering it out, giving the engine the air that it needs to breathe efficiently to create its power. So at slower speeds, the supercharger does that. Now, once you build up some speed, the turbocharger takes over because it's spooled up, it's on boost, it's good to go, it's ready for action. The supercharger at that point disengages itself. This way, it's not stripping the energy of friction and efficiency. It backs off, it disconnects, and it lets the turbo in the engine do their dance. The result is magic. Polestar is using this engine in the sedan and wagon version of the 60s level Volvo, the S60 and the V60. And I believe that new engine that people are just test driving somewhere on the other side of the country is making something like 345, 350 horsepower. This is a 4-cylinder, 2-liter engine we're talking about here. That is so awesome. I long for the day, I don't long for it, I look forward to the day when we do 200 horsepower per liter. Remember when a 100 horsepower per liter was a big deal? Get ready for 200 horsepower per liter. Now on the outside, another thing this XC90 is going for, besides this lovely powertrain, is the fact that this is one damn good looking vehicle, especially in the R-Design version that we're driving here. So it gets sharper looking wheels, it gets Pirelli Scorpion tires on those wheels, and it wears this awesome blue paint with the satin finished silver mirrors. The effect is wonderful. Visually, from the outside, I feel like the Volvo XC90 looks visually slimmer than anything that Germany has to offer. It probably weighs as much. Luxury vehicles are heavy. This is a premium luxury vehicle, so all the parts and the leather materials and all that stuff adds up weight. The all-wheel drive system probably isn't light, all this stuff. But we have a 4-cylinder, the aforementioned 4-cylinder engine under the hood, and just visually, this thing looks, not only does it look sharp, it looks lighter than the competition. There are a few drive modes you can opt for. There's a little drive mode wheel down here. I'm in Comfort, which is the standard one. You can go into Eco if you just hate yourself. There's an off-road setting that if you go over 25 miles per hour, the vehicle will lower back down because it does have air suspension and it can adjust that. But there's dynamic, so I'm about to switch it into dynamic. I'm not gonna change the amount of pressure I'm giving the pedal, but it instantly downshifted. I didn't change the pressure my foot was giving, but the throttle response sharpened up, the transmission dropped a gear, and the whole thing got sharper. On turns, speaking of dynamic, there's not a lot of body roll. This thing stays pretty flat through the corners. It's a surprisingly engaging vehicle to drive. Now, it's a big 3-row SUV, so you don't expect to set new Nürburgring times in this, but for just whipping around your normal roads, I'm on PCH in Huntington Beach here, it gets up and goes pretty quickly. Car and Driver tested this with their instruments, which we don't have, and I read that because I was curious. Their 0 to 60 time they achieved was 6.4, which is fine. This thing's great. I'm happy with that. I don't need a lightning fast thing. Now, that said, if Volvo offered a Polestar version of this, I'd be happy to sign up for that. Since this is a Volvo vehicle, you'd expect it to be comfortable. You're right, it is. These seats are wonderful. They're adjustable in multiple ways, including the lower leg cushion can go further out, which is great for me at 6'3". A little more leg comfort goes a long way. Inside, it's very smartly designed. In the center stack here, you have an almost iPad-esque touchscreen. It works easily. It detects where your finger is nice and simply. You slide it to the left. You've got plenty of the features of the car. In the middle are the basics, you know, nav, audio, your phone, the sound experience, which you can adjust. And then if you go to the right, there's more things to adjust. It's very smart. It makes sense. It took me 2 minutes of using this to figure it out, and it's easy, and I love it. It's a great setup. And it minimizes buttons in the cabin. There are basic buttons. There's quick buttons you can hit for defrost. There's quick buttons to adjust the track and the volume. That's all you need. The HVAC is easy to get to, even though it's in the touchscreen. It just pops up quickly. There's no delay. It just goes and does its thing. Now here in front of me in the gauge cluster is something almost Audi-esque with the nav in between the rev counter and the speed. If I plugged in a destination, the nav would get bigger. You can't force it to do that like you can in the Audi system, which is fine. I mean, I can pull the nav up over here. The Audi system is a little more slick, but this one is, if it's a step behind it, it's, you know, a snail's pace of a step. It's right there. That made no sense. Snails don't step, so whatever. It's literally on its ass in the race for making technology better in your cabin. So as you'd expect, this thing isn't cheap, but it's probably a lot less expensive than you think. The base version starts at just over $45,000. The one I'm driving is incredibly nicely equipped, and it's at $56,000. I feel like that's an excellent price for a vehicle like this. Now you can step up. There's a version above this that actually has a 400 horsepower plug-in hybrid motor. So this one's considered the XC90 T6. There's a T5 lower model. Then there's a T8, which is that 400 horsepower plug-in hybrid. I'm very happy right here at $56,000. If you want the T8, you jump up and it starts in the 60s, and I priced one out online to just throw every option at it to see what it would do, and you could get it just over $90,000. So if you want to spend money on this, you can. If you want to stay at $56,000 and have everything you need, this has heads-up display, it has heated seats, it has this giant panoramic roof up here, it has this great touchscreen system right here. I've got all the tech I need. I've got that very cool twin-charged engine under the hood. I've got this smooth enough shifting gearbox. I wish it could respond a little bit quicker, but again, this is a Volvo, it's not a BMW. But I'm happy here. The R design gets paddles too, so you can shift with those right here on the steering wheel if you want, or you can shift down here on the shift lever. You know what this is? This is Sweden's Range Rover, except it's more interesting than the Range Rover. And now, listen, I'm a massive Land Rover fan. I love Land Rovers. My goal in life, not the goal in life, but one of my goals in life is to eventually own a Defender 110 because I'm an idiot and I just have to have one even though I know it will drive like a tractor. I love Land Rover. I love the current design of the current Land Rovers. I think a Discovery Sport is an excellent entry-level Land Rover, and I don't even think the Evoque convertible's that crazy of an idea. With that said, were I spending my money and I had to buy something in this segment because that's where I was shopping, I think I'd like to spend $56,000 on this, save the money I would have spent otherwise on, a Range Rover Sport, or I actually prefer the big dog, full Range Rover, and be very happy. I would never look at a Range Rover and think I made the wrong choice. This car is a little bit more quirky than that because it's Swedish, because it's a Volvo. The design interior aesthetic is lovely. The engine is more interesting. The Bowers & Wilkins audio system, which granted, Land Rover has an amazing audio system too, but the audio system in here is excellent. This has everything I need and I love it. And I think it just looks fantastic. If you can afford it and you're shopping in this space and you don't test drive it, you're an idiot. Beyond the styling and the interesting aspect of the powertrain combination, it's a Volvo, so it's safe as hell. It has so many safety systems. Now, you can disable a bunch of them, which is great, but it has, the one where it'll do automatic braking. It'll keep you in your lane. The camera setup when you're backing up and maneuvering is excellent. It seems like it has a parking system to park itself, which I haven't tested yet because I refuse to let a machine park for me because I can do that. But it has it if you want it. So it's safe, affordable, relatively speaking, for its segment. It's damn good looking, especially with its Thor's hammer. How can you not like something called Thor's hammer influenced headlights? It's got that really cool engine, which I keep harping on. It's got these awesome seats, all for under 60 grand. I love me some Volvo XC90, friends. The only way this car would be better is if it were in my driveway. That's it. See? Gets up and goes. And then it warns me that I'm exceeding the speed limit because it's a Volvo. The heads-up display flashes a little bit. Hey, this is the speed limit, but not in an annoying way, just in a kind of like, if you wanted to slow down, this would be a good spot to do it. These days, often the turbocharger and the supercharger work in harmony, much like Ebony and Ivory would in a song that predates most of you watching this, and I'm getting old.